Hey guys, how's it going? So, while at the 2A Patriots Rally in Lansing, Michigan, I was introduced to a man by my friend Rick Nieper, and this man's name was Steve Bukala. And up until just a couple weeks ago, Steve was the chief of police in a small town called Lowell, Michigan. And unfortunately, Steve is no longer the chief of police in Lowell. And what I'm about to tell you makes me really sad, and it should make you sad too, of what this country has come to and what certain people's agendas are now actually perpetuating throughout the United States and in the state of Michigan. Because you see, with all of the violence, riots, mass destruction, and chaos that has ensued recently in the United States, including in Michigan, there were a few patriots, a few young men, a couple that I actually saw at the 2A rally in Lansing that seemed to be very polite gentlemen. They said, we want to keep our town safe, and we're going to open carry to protect the people and the businesses in our hometown of Lowell. And when they said they were going to do that, the chief of police said, you know what? I support you because I support the Constitution. I support the entire Bill of Rights. I definitely support the Second Amendment. And he said that he supports the right for people to keep and bear arms and for people to legally carry their firearms. And does that sound weird to you guys? No, of course not, because Chief Steve Bukala, he took an oath, not just once, but on a residual basis as chief of police, that he would uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States of America and of Michigan. And he would defend everybody's rights. Because, see, the chief didn't grant them their rights. He's just there to uphold and defend people's rights, whatever that may be, whether it's their First Amendment, which his was not defended very well, I must say, or the Second Amendment, in the case of these gentlemen that just wanted to keep their city safe. So, again, it was my pleasure to meet you, Steve. I wish you the best of luck. And I talked to Steve just candidly, just as a regular person, like how I talk to all of you on here. What a nice guy, you know that? Just a regular old dude. Seemed like a really good guy. I wish he was the chief of police in my town, to be honest. Saw him there with his wife. And what they did to him was wrong. He lost his job and he got fired because he stood up for the Second Amendment and for our God-given rights and for the Constitution, because when he took that oath, and he took the oath many times over his nearly 27-year career, he took it seriously, and he believed it was his duty. And he was duty-bound and oath-bound to protect everybody, including the Second Amendment. And there is no law prohibiting open carry in Michigan, so therefore it was up to him to protect these people's rights to carry. He got fired. They canned him. It says resign in some of the articles you'll read. It was a forced resignation. They was told... He'll explain it to you in just a minute, guys, because I was lucky enough to get an interview. But it was basically like, if you play nice and resign, we might be able to take care of you a little bit. Now, he has a family to feed. He has bills to pay just like the rest of us. Come to find out, they basically just kicked him to the curb. And they didn't just kick Steve to the curb. They kicked the Constitution of the state of Michigan and of the United States of America. And I'm not happy about this, and it does sadden me. So hopefully you'll enjoy the interview I'm about to do with Steve, with his attorney, Katherine Henry. Just met these people today, but they seem like really good people, and I thought it was really cool that Steve showed up. And he's going to give a little plug, but I'm going to show you guys real quick here the flyer. Coming up here this Saturday, June 20th, 2A March in Lowell, Michigan. Our beloved police chief, Steve Bukala, was forced to resign because he supported citizens' right to keep and bear arms on Facebook. We are having a peaceful march supporting him and the Constitution, open carry and family friendly. All of these events are family friendly, guys. We're the nicest people. We're the best people at these events. We're blessed to have you join us. And this is Saturday, June 20th from 10 to noon, Lowell, Michigan. And they're lining up at the Ada Lowell 5 Theater parking. Also, he's retired Restore Freedom Attorney Katherine Henry, and they're prepared to take Chief's case all the way to the Supreme Court, if necessary. And that costs money. Financial support is also appreciated. Look, I'm kicking in, guys, and if you can help him out, I think this is a worthy cause because it's about Steve and his family, but it's also about the Constitution of Michigan, of the United States, and for this not to become precedence and normal, that if somebody actually upholds their oath, that they're going to lose their job. We need to have this man's back, because I've complained just as much as anybody has when there's government overreach, and when some cops appear to be jackboots and they try to evoke tyranny on the people. I stand up against that as much as anybody does. But for somebody to get fired, for this man to get fired for upholding his oath, this is despicable, and it makes me sad. And we need to stop this dead in its tracks right now. He's willing to litigate. You know that costs money. His lawyer, I met her. She's very nice, but she has to make a living too. So legal fees cost money, especially if they have to go higher up in the courts. So if you go to GoFundMe, it's We Back Chief Bukala. Bukala. I'm sorry, I probably mispronounced your name, Chief. I'm sorry about that, Chief Bukala. We back Chief Bukala. And I do back the Chief. So stay tuned. We're going to do an interview right now. And then my friend Ray and I did a live stream afterwards. We're just going to talk for a couple minutes about it and just give you our thoughts. So God bless you, sir, and your family. And there's some people that didn't want you to be a public servant anymore, but there's a whole heck of a lot of us that stand with you, with your oath, and with the Constitution of the great state of Michigan and these United States of America. So my pleasure meeting you, Chief. Hey guys, how's it going? So if you remember back in my last live stream, I was talking about right here in Michigan, that when there were some rioters and crazy stuff kind of getting close, a few armed citizens came out just to make sure that it was going to keep the small town of Lowell, Michigan safe. And when they did keep the town safe, their chief of police, basically just stood up for them and said, I stand with the Second Amendment and with the Constitution. And I have former chief of police of Lowell, Steve, with me here today. So how's it going, Steve?
It's pretty impressive. This is the first rally I've ever been to like this.
Nice. So what ended up happening after you basically said that you're going to stand with the Second Amendment and the Constitution?
Well, our mayor ordered me to remove the last line of the Facebook post that said that Lowell Police Department supports the Second Amendment and the armed citizen.
Legally armed citizen.
Legally armed citizen. And the post blew up, and we were getting complaints from Colorado, city of Grand Rapids, and they said there was too much political pressure, and they fired me, or forced me to resign.
Specifically calling his statement of supporting the Second Amendment unprofessional and a personal feeling and a political debate.
Okay, so that reminds me of something. Personal, they said. Now, your profession, chief of police, did you take an oath to uphold the Constitution of the United States and the state of Michigan?
Yes, the same oath the city manager, the mayor, and all the city council took too.
And in the Constitution, in the state of Michigan, is there something that basically orders you that you are to stand with the laws of the land in Michigan?
Yes.
Which includes the right to keep and bear arms?
Correct.
So it wasn't necessarily a personal thing. It sounds like to me you were just upholding your oath. Is that how you looked at it?
Yeah, I was making a statement of fact, because when he told me, he said, that line needs to come off, and I said, well, it's true. What I meant by that is we support the Second Amendment, the First Amendment, the entire Constitution. Just like when these protesters laid down today, I stood between them and another guy and said, no, they have the same right to be here. We can't just cherry pick what we want to protect. You got to protect the whole thing or it's no good.
Yeah, and I'm no lawyer, but from what I understand, it's actually probably illegal for you to not defend the Constitution when you take an oath. Am I right there?
Correct. I could have been hauled into federal court for violating their federal civil rights.
So for you following the law, standing up for your oath, which was endowed by our creators and then written in the Constitution, are we to a point where you actually got in trouble for that?
Apparently so.
He was forced to resign without even so much as enough time to talk to an attorney. So now that he's got an attorney, we're not gonna let that stand, because he doesn't want to work in a situation where they think that's okay, but he also wants to make sure that no other police officer in Michigan ever gets fired for supporting the Constitution.
Because to me and the other patriots who watch this channel, we would want you to get in trouble if you went against your oath and you went against the Second Amendment. But it sounds like the opposite of that happened here, right?
Correct.
And what happened? Do you still have a job right now?
I do not. I'm unemployed, and get this, they said if I resign, they would keep it quiet. Well, that didn't happen. I had a media firestorm. And they said if I resign, I can keep my vacation and personal time. And guess what happened today? I didn't get my vacation or sick or personal time.
And did you have a family? I mean,
I do.
to pay?
I do.
Police officers aren't rich, are they?
No.
So could you use maybe some fellow patriots help in the state of Michigan right now?
I do. If you believe in the Constitution and the Second Amendment, we have a GoFundMe page that says support Chief Steve Bukala. If you could go on there, even if it's $10, it goes a long way, because I plan on fighting this as far as I can, even if it's the U.S. Supreme Court.
And I'm going to donate to it too, guys. And look, this is about Steve in a way, but it's really not. It's so much bigger than Steve, because if we let them just steamroll him, they're also steamrolling his oath and the whole Constitution. And this is going to keep happening again and again and again. Well, we're not going to be able to have any good people being police officers. So I encourage you to stand with Steve personally. He needs our help right now, but just for the Michigan and United States Constitution, period. So I challenge everyone, chip in what you can. This is just a regular guy like the rest of us, and a patriot that stands with the Constitution and the Second Amendment. So I thank you, Steve.
Thank you. There's one more thing. There's a rally this Saturday from 10 a.m. to noon in Lowell. We have actually people driving in from Rhode Island messaged us that they support what I stood for, and that they like the fact that I actually support the Constitution and have a backbone, unlike someone else that said resign or be fired.
And we need more people like that, so let's stand up with each other. All right, guys, thanks a lot. And then I met with the police chief. You guys remember I was talking about that just in the last stream. So here in Michigan, there's a small town called Lowell, Michigan. Have you even heard of that town?
You say Lola or Lowell?
Lowell, like
Lowell.
Lowell.
Right outside of Grand Rapids, right?
Exactly. So Grand
I haven't
Rapids.
heard of it, but you told me that earlier.
Well, yeah, that's why I'm here. I'm QA for a reason.
The educator.
So Grand Rapids, big city, they were starting to get violent and riot and were destroying things. And the little town of Lowell that's right next to it, right? They said, no, not in our city. So a couple nice young men, we just saw them, they look really polite, we're here today. They went out there with their long guns and stood in front of some of the local businesses and said, not in Lowell. We're not going to let rioters just destroy everybody's livelihood, pillage our town that we all love, you know? And the mayor came out and condemned. And then the police chief stood up and he said, no, I support the Second Amendment. And I support all of our God-given rights. Did you guys hear about this in the news? And he got fired and he lost his job. And I got a nice little interview with him and his attorney. He's out of a job right now. He's going to have to sue. But yes, I'm going to have a nice video coming out with the former, I hate to say, police chief that literally got fired. His official statement was, I stand for all people's rights and with the Second Amendment. The mayor told him, you need to retract the Second Amendment part.
Unreal.
And he said, but I took an oath, that's my job. And they said, no, you must retract or you're going to lose your job. And he did, and it happened. And this is right in our backyards, but I think this is much bigger than just the specific chief. What do you think?
Says a lot about him that he came today, you know?
Yes.
Just because of that unfortunate end to his career, you know?
And like,
he's still standing out here supporting,
yep.
Just like he said the day he got fired.
Exactly, and here's how I look at it too, and I'd like your opinion on this, because you guys listen to me all the time. I was excited to have Ray do a live stream with me tonight, because she's my friend, that's the most important part, but she might not have the same exact ideas as me, right? Like, I just wanted a little bit of your input. So I've always said in my streams, and I want your opinion on this, that once they can censor some speech, they could take more. Do you agree with that?
Once they
censor some speech.
Yes.
So if they can like ban one book, would it make it easier to ban the next?
Sure.
And if they take one model of gun and they ban it and take it away, what do you think, harder or easier to ban the next?
Easier.
Motorcycle guys, we're in a public park here, 1 second. So back to this police chief, I feel this is just yet another slippery slope, and I want your opinion on this. This isn't scripted, guys, it never is. But basically, they've now said that a chief of police, and you know that they take an oath, right?
I didn't know that. It makes sense though. Yeah, like graduation or something.
Yes, yes. And not only just when they graduate the academy, when they get hired, and they have to renew their oath on a residual basis, right? I'll give you a perfect example. People are honking for the Trump wagon driving by, guys. Anyways, for example, your dad, Marine, right? He had to take an oath to protect and defend the Constitution against enemies, foreign and domestic, right? Mm-hmm. Same thing with all the cops out there. So he took an oath, which includes the whole Constitution, which includes the Second Amendment, right?
Right.
And they fired him because he said, I support the Second Amendment.
I don't even know what to say. It blows my mind because he said that, and who fired him? The mayor?
Yeah. The mayor said, you'll resign right now or else. We won't give you your vacation and sick days. And then he resigned because he knew he was going to get fired anyways. And then they still said, screw you, you're not getting your vacation and sick days. No, it blows your mind. Okay, so why? Because does that even sound possible?
No.
So
it's just sad. It made me sad hearing it. And I felt, even though I felt like very impressed and a lot of respect towards seeing him, I also just felt like there was a lot of sadness surrounding him and, you know, the people that were near him.
And I actually, it made me sad too, and I think anyone who's an American should be sad to hear this story, because this is a man, and look, nobody's been harsher on the jackboot cops than me, right? Like, I'm always calling out the government for too much intrusion on our lives. However, when you have somebody that literally stood up for our God-given rights, and he was the chief of police, and they fired him for it, okay? It doesn't even make any sense whatsoever. And it does make me sad, and everyone should be sad to know that that's going on in this country. Because we complain when cops get, as we call it, jackbooted, right? When the cops are there just trying to rule us around like we're their little minions, right? That gets us mad.
For sure.
And then you have a cop that's like, no, I'm just going to stand with the Constitution, and they fire him? I mean, do you think it's going to get us more good cops, or is that going to make all the good cops just want to quit?
Right. And I wonder what's going on in their small town. All the people that are disappointed and heartbroken and probably scared, you know?
Yeah.
So, as you all can see, this whole thing made Ray sad, and like I said, it made me sad, and it should make you sad. There's somebody who's actually honoring their oath and standing up for people's rights that were endowed by their creator. That's much bigger than government, much bigger than the police, that the police are legally bound and morally bound to uphold with their oath of office. So, like I said, we need to stop this. And it should make you angry. And I don't mean angry in a violent way. I mean angry in a good way. That this needs to change and this needs to stop. And we want good police in this country. We don't want to make it where all the good ones resign because they stood up for the Constitution. Just think about this. Resigned, fired, forced to resign because he stood up for the Constitution, which leaves nothing left other than they only want people to serve that are against the Constitution. I mean, that's the way I'm looking at it. So what do we want? Do we want people that are going to enforce the laws, that are going to uphold? Or do we want people that are going to get hired and that refuse to uphold? I know this sounds crazy, and that is indeed what makes this such a shame and so sad, but we all need to stick together and help fight this, because if we can stop it now, it's going to be a heck of a lot better than letting that snowball build up and just start rolling down the hill, because once it keeps going, it's that slippery slope, and we say that for a reason. Once it gets going, it can be really hard to stop. I want police officers serving the citizenry who uphold their oath. I do not want people in office that are going to go against their oath. And this is so clear-cut, and this makes so much common sense. That's probably why the other side is having such a hard time comprehending it. Alright, thanks for watching, and have a good one.